Now, ever since the Fantastic Four First Steps box office metrics were best described and labeled as a disappointment by Disney CEO Bob Iger, by even Kevin Feige, and that's exactly why they doubled down in damage control, and they began to point the finger at specific individuals and blame them for as to why they missed out on a specific box office margin. We know that Pedro Pascal did this, blamed a lot of Trump supporters out there, blamed MAGA, and even Trump himself as to why people are not going to the theaters as much anymore, especially when it comes to Marvel films, and especially when it comes to Disney fatigue. People are just tired of Disney overall. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, we've had a lot more celebrities coming forward as of late, calling out Disney, and especially calling out the Walt Disney Company and CEO Bob Iger, after Gina Carano actually won that ongoing lawsuit that was going on for quite a while when she got fired back in 2021 from Lucasfilm. That is all now officially over, they settled, and you have more celebrities coming forward about their thoughts on Disney. One of which now involves actor Mel Gibson calling out, of course, Pedro Pascal, and of course how he snapped at MAGA, how he snapped at Trump supporters, and blamed them for as to why Fantastic Four just missed out on specific box office numbers. Now let's get into the overall details about this. Now, one thing about Mel Gibson that I will say right now is that he has called out many celebrities before in the past. People like Pedro Pascal, Rachel Zegler, Robert De Niro, Alec Baldwin, the list goes on, and rightfully so. However, with the Fantastic Four box office already a disappointment for both Marvel and Disney, and Pedro Pascal turning the film's press tour into a political talking point and narrative, one major development going on now involves actor Mel Gibson calling out Pedro for doing what he did during the Fantastic Four press tour. Mel delivered the following. Look, man, I'm a patriot and I love my country. I also long for the film industry for what it used to be years ago, and we are getting there slowly. But when you have these actors, man, when you have guys like Pedro Pascal wrongfully promoting a film like the Fantastic Four and focusing on MAGA, Trump and his supporters, and blaming them for why they didn't hit a certain box office metric, it really shows us that activism is at the center of this industry right now, and Mr. Pascal is the epitome of that humiliating fact. People don't want to sit and listen to actors' politics and saying who's on the good or bad side, or blaming Trump supporters on why a movie isn't meeting a certain metric. People, regular people, you know, common moviegoers, they are all exhausted about it all, and I hear people are tired of Pedro Pascal too, especially after his multiple rants about the president. And look, everyone knows where I stand on my politics, that's for sure, but I'm not forcing anyone to side with it, or labeling people as wrong or evil for not accepting my politics. Actors need to take responsibility and just do their job, and act. It's that simple, man. Like, I just don't get it in this industry. We are obviously dealing with a lot of angry people in Hollywood, people like Pedro Pascal that just can't let it go, and let go of the fact that Trump won back in November and is the sitting president. And also shame on both Kevin Feige, Bob Iger, and even Pedro for turning their press tour of the Fantastic Four into a political narrative. It just turns people away, it turns them off, and nobody wants to deal with that anymore in 2025. Look, I'm a simple man when it comes to acting. Act, do your job, promote your project, and move on. Leave the politics out of it, because people don't want to hear it. And I even advise those out there like Pedro Pascal to chill the hell out, man. You are just embarrassing yourself, and your fans are giving up on you in numbers. Just look at what this guy did with The Last of Us Season 2 press tour. It was actually embarrassing, and I will never understand how there are many in the industry that have loved for decades that just don't learn from their mistakes. Now, guys, let me just say one thing about this. Now, the thing about Mel Gibson is that, yes, he's speaking the truth here. People don't want to hear actors' politics or any of their, political sides, whether it's on the left or the right, and really making out others to be, very bad people if you don't side with their politics, right? People do not want to hear about all that nonsense, especially when promoting a film. We saw the major mistake that Rachel Zegler did with the Snow White movie and how that actually created a box office disaster. When she actually dragged politics into the press tour of Snow White 2025. Same exact thing applied to the Fantastic Four First Steps. And look, it wasn't just the fact that Pedro was making things political as to why people turned away. There is an actual obvious fatigue over Pedro Pascal, Disney, Marvel, and even, this is a big debate, and even superhero films. There's a debate there as well. At least superhero films that are done through the Walt Disney Company, right? Now, one thing is for certain is that we have a lot of people saying that Superman definitely outperformed the Fantastic Four. Meanwhile, you have other people saying that it was quite the other way around. But one thing is for certain is that when it comes down to Pedro Pascal, people are tired of seeing this guy in almost every single franchise and or, movie out there as of late. He's with Star Wars, Marvel, comedy films, drama movies, he's everywhere. He's even in, sided with HBO now with The Last of Us. He's just plastered everywhere, and all we have to listen to is his politics for promoting every single TV show or movie project, whatever it may be. People do not want to sit and listen to it. So, Mel Gibson goes on to actually conclude, I know, I just don't get it, man. I own my mistakes, terrible mistakes, and I moved past them and improved myself as best as I could. That's the most human thing that you can do in this country, and as a patriot, I welcome freedom of speech. Pedro can say what he wants, but remember that people will perceive you a certain way based on what you say and how you say it, especially when it involves politics. That's the nonsense that needs to be looked at in Hollywood, and many actors need to learn from Pedro Pascal's terrible decisions in Hollywood. Now again, we know a lot of actors are going to refuse to back down, people like George Clooney, Robert De Niro, Pedro here, and many others out there. They will never back down from their politics. It doesn't matter if they lose fans. Even Mark Hamill said that he doesn't care if he loses fans. He will continue to double down on his politics, whether it's on social media or whether it's promoting a project, whatever it may be. They're not going to back down. And these are the type of actors that are being hired by Disney and by other studios out there. There is a resistance there in Hollywood, that's for sure. But more studios are beginning to wake up that things like DEI and ESG and all these agenda-driven, strategies are just not working for them at all. And more studios are waking up. It's going to take a very long time for Hollywood to turn around fully, if it even will, at that. And I think that when you have actors like Mel Gibson calling out all of the insanity, and even other actors that once actually were against Mel Gibson now calling out the insanity, it really does show you that there is a shift going on. There is a cultural shift happening within the film industry. Slowly but surely we're returning to normalcy, and you're going to see more of that as the years roll by. But overall, you're going to see a higher resistance, of course, as we get closer to the fact that more films double down on shifting away from DEI, how studios are beginning to realize that it's just not a good business model. It's obviously upsetting actors like Pedro Pascal, Alec Baldwin, George Clooney, Robert De Niro. They all are against, the fact that studios are backing away from it. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about Mel Gibson really calling out Pedro here, calling out what he did during the press tour for the Fantastic Four. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.